In a world of noise and distraction, there is one place where wisdom still whispers, where voices of greatness echo through time. Welcome to the Motivational Library. Progress isn't luck, it's a decision backed by structure. Listen, every day feels the same when you're just getting by without a clear system. You say you want more focus, more growth, more results, but without direction, your effort gets wasted. That's the trap. People do a lot, but they don't move forward. Not because they can't, but because they haven't taken control of their path. Audience and promise. This video is different. This is not surface-level motivation. This is for the person ready to build a system that actually works, a system you can trust. No more guessing, no more hoping things just work out. If you've been feeling stuck, distracted, or all over the place, this is your reset. This is where we build clarity step by step. Watch until the end. One shift in your thinking today can unlock consistent growth for the rest of your life. Chapter 1. The Power of Daily Direction. Think about that quiet moment when you're truly honest with yourself. Every one of us wants to feel like our days matter. We all want to wake up with a sense of direction, but the truth is simple. Without a plan, nothing changes. The days just slip by. Progress becomes a hope instead of a reality. You deserve better than hope. You deserve direction you can trust. A plan is not pressure. A plan is not stress. A plan is the choice to take control. When you create a plan, you are telling your mind, I am ready to move my life with purpose. You stop wandering. You become the one who pushes. Human nature waits for motivation first, but the truth is, direction creates motivation. When your mind sees a clear, achievable path, it feels safer, stronger, and more willing to act. The internal shift picture. You wake up already knowing what truly matters. You don't waste the first hour thinking about where to start. You don't carry that mental heaviness that comes from trying to organize your whole life in your head. You know your direction. That is what a plan gives you. It gives you relief. It gives you clarity. It gives you a sense of control that rapidly strengthens your confidence. People underestimate how much confidence grows when life feels organized. Without that structure, the mind becomes scattered and progress slows to a crawl. A plan also changes your internal dialogue. When you have direction, your inner voice gets stronger. You stop telling yourself you'll change someday. You stop promising yourself you'll start later. You start living with action, and action changes everything. Most people don't lack talent. They lack trust in themselves. A plan helps restore that trust because it gives you steps you can actually complete. Every completed step adds another piece to your confidence. The greatest stress remover isn't a vacation, it's clarity. Stop carrying stress simply because you don't know what to do next. They feel overwhelmed, not because the goal is too big, but because the path is unclear. Clarity brings calm. When you sit down and create a simple plan for your day or your week, you immediately lighten that mental weight. Your mind becomes calmer because it knows the next move. A calm mind makes wiser decisions. It handles challenges better. It stays focused longer. That inner calmness is not luck. It comes from preparation. A plan also powerfully shapes your energy. When a person drifts through the day, their energy spreads thin. They jump from one thought to the next. They chase whatever seems urgent. And by the end of the day, they feel tired, yet entirely unfulfilled. But when you have direction, your energy gathers in one place. It becomes purposeful. Purposeful energy is powerful. It makes you feel alive. It fuels progress in ways random, scattered effort never can. Respecting time and self. A plan forces you to respect your time. People say they want more hours, yet they lose hours each day to distraction, confusion, and hesitation. When you create a plan, you learn to use your time wisely. You stop giving your attention to things that weaken your growth. You start using every hour with intention. The moment you do that, you begin to feel proud of yourself. Pride grows from the disciplined use of time. Pride grows from knowing you didn't waste your day. A plan also strengthens your discipline. Discipline is not about force. Discipline is about clarity. When you know exactly what you need to do, it becomes easier to do it. The mind thrives on structure. When you outline your steps clearly, discipline feels natural. You stop fighting with yourself. You follow the direction you gave yourself. And with every day of discipline, your character becomes stronger. That strength spills into every other part of your life. Stability and ownership. A plan protects you from emotional swings. When life feels aimless, emotions take over. One small disruption can ruin your whole day. You feel unsteady. But when you create direction, your mood has less control over you. You don't depend on your feelings to move forward because you already know what needs to be done. This is the source of emotional stability. It comes from daily structure. Most people wait for a big, life-changing moment. But real growth happens through small actions, done consistently. A plan allows those small actions to stack day after day. You stop trying to fix everything at once. You break things down. You focus. And because you focus, progress becomes steady. Steady progress builds a long-term identity. You become someone reliable, efficient, and capable. Building a plan is an act of ownership. You start paying attention to yourself, understanding what you truly want. You stop reacting to life and begin shaping it. You ask honest questions. What matters? What am I ignoring? A plan reminds you that your life is your responsibility, not your friends, not your family, not society, yours. You stop blaming circumstances. You start because you understand that progress only belongs to those who take charge. The simple equation. A plan does not need to be complicated, it just needs honesty. Ask yourself 3 simple questions. 1. What do you want? 2. Why do you want it? 3. What step can you take today? That is enough to change the entire rhythm of your life. The moment you choose direction, you choose growth. And when a person chooses growth, their whole world starts to shift. A plan builds momentum. Momentum makes improvement easy. The new identity. When you wake up with direction, your day gains meaning. Your effort gains power. Your results gain consistency. And that consistency becomes a new identity. You start seeing yourself as someone who follows through, someone who creates progress, someone who shapes their life instead of waiting for life to shape them. A plan is the first act of self-respect. When you design the direction for your day, you tell yourself that your future matters. You deserve progress. Your goals deserve attention. And when you live with that kind of inner respect, everything changes. This is why direction matters. This is why planning matters. Not for perfection, but for power. The power to guide your day, the power to build progress, the power to change the way you think and live. Build a plan that strengthens your daily direction, and life will open in ways you never expected. Chapter 2. Create actions that train your mind to focus. The focus gap. There comes a point when the mind feels crowded. Thoughts jump, focus slips, and you sit down to work only to remember 10 other things. The mind becomes restless, and when the mind is restless, progress slows down. People often believe focus is a gift that appears on its own, but it is not. Focus is trained. It grows stronger through repeated, intentional actions that guide the mind back to what matters. The mind listens to what you do more than what you say. Anyone can promise to focus more, but the promise changes nothing. What changes the mind is action, simple, clear, repeated action. When you choose one task and give it your full attention for a set time, you train your mind to stay steady. The mind will wander, that is natural, but every time you gently bring it back, you strengthen your ability to direct your thoughts. That repeated return builds mental discipline, the actions that center your mind. The world constantly pulls us in a million directions, notifications, messages, and endless entertainment. To train your focus, you have to slow the world down and create actions that center your mind. 1. Choose a single priority, one thing now. Stop trying to do too much at once. To train your focus, stick to just one priority for the moment. Not 5 things, not 3, just one. When your mind learns to finish one thing before moving to the next, it stops chasing distractions. It grows calmer, it becomes sharper. This clarity changes how you experience your entire day. 2. Simplify decisions with structure. Focus improves when the mind is not overwhelmed. A powerful action is to reduce the number of decisions you make at once. When you create small systems, like setting specific times for specific tasks, you free your mind from unnecessary pressure. You teach your brain to concentrate because you remove the chaos that steals attention. This is about giving your thoughts the room they need to settle. 3. Set boundaries around attention. When you sit down for meaningful work, your mind must know this time is protected. No sudden scrolling, no switching apps, no wandering to something easier. Every time you guard your focus, you give your mind strength. The more you protect your attention, the more your brain learns that your goals come first. It becomes more loyal to your direction than to the noise around you. 4. Identify your triggers. Your ability to focus improves when you become aware of what pulls you away. Everyone has triggers that break concentration, boredom, self-doubt, or the desire to escape effort. When you pause and notice what interrupts you, you gain power over it. When the urge to distract strikes, you can respond with action instead of reaction. You can breathe, ground yourself, and gently bring your attention back. This self-awareness trains your mind to remain steady. 5. Practice full presence. This means paying attention to what you are doing without rushing ahead in your thoughts. If you are writing, be with the writing. If you are learning, be with the learning. When you fully engage with the present moment, your mind becomes sharper. Presence builds mental strength because it reduces the noise inside your head. 6. Commit to consistent repetition. The mind responds well to repetition. When you repeat actions that require concentration, the brain adapts. It becomes easier and natural. This is why daily habits matter. Practice short periods of focused work each day. Even 10 minutes of real focus daily will strengthen your mental capacity over time. The key is doing it regularly, not perfectly. Your brain grows from commitment. 7. Align your environment. A cluttered space often leads to a cluttered mind. Clearing your environment is an action that sends your brain a message. This is a place for focus. The simple act of cleaning your desk or organizing your tools improves your ability to concentrate. The mind works best in a space that feels calm and safe. The final layers of training. Training focus requires more than just technique. It requires self-knowledge and maintenance. Use your energy cycles. The brain has natural cycles of energy. Pay attention to when you feel most alert and schedule your most important work during those moments. This helps you use your mind efficiently. Instead of fighting against low energy, you leverage the times when your mind is naturally stronger. Practice patience and stamina. People often give up on tasks too quickly, but the mind becomes stronger when you stay with the task, even when it becomes uncomfortable. When you push gently beyond boredom or frustration, you expand your mental stamina. You teach your mind that it can handle more than it thinks. Incorporate intentional rest. A tired mind cannot focus well. Taking small breaks, breathing deeply, or stepping away for a moment refreshes your thoughts. When you return, your focus is stronger. This is not laziness. This is maintenance. A well-rested mind performs better. The most powerful action you can take is choosing to be intentional with your mind. You stop moving through life on autopilot. You start deciding where your attention goes instead of letting the world decide for you. Training focus is not about perfection. It is about progress. When you train your mind to focus, you gain freedom. You become more effective, more confident, and more aware of your own strength. Every action you take teaches your mind how to think. When you choose actions that build focus, you create a stronger, calmer, more directed version of yourself, and that version of you is capable of doing more than you ever imagined. Chapter 3. Define goals that push your personal growth. The need for a target. There comes a moment when you realize you've been moving, but not in a direction that truly changes you. Days pass, tasks get done, but something inside feels untouched. That feeling is a sign. Growth needs a destination. Growth needs a target. Without a clear goal, A person works hard but remains in the same place, emotionally, mentally, and personally. A goal is not just something you want. It is something that demands a better version of you. It asks you to stretch your skills, your thinking, and your habits. When you define goals that push your personal growth, you make a decision to evolve rather than stay who you have always been. The foundation, honesty and challenge. The first step is radical honesty. Real goals come from looking at your life without excuses. Ask yourself simple but powerful questions. What do I truly want to improve? What areas of my life feel unfinished? What part of me is capable of more, but is currently being ignored? These questions create clarity. They guide you to the growth you need, not the growth others expect from you. A meaningful goal challenges you, but it should not punish you. It shouldn't feel impossible, but it must require effort beyond your current routine. When a goal is too easy, it keeps you comfortable, and comfort never builds progress. When a goal pushes you gently out of familiar patterns, it forces you to upgrade your behavior. The challenge of the goal becomes the tool that shapes your growth. Goals as identity transformation. To define the right goal, you must understand what kind of person you want to become. Growth is not just about achieving something, it is about transforming your character. A person who wants better health becomes someone who respects their body. A person who wants stronger relationships becomes someone who communicates clearly and openly. Every goal reshapes the person pursuing it. When you choose goals that align with your desired identity, you build a version of yourself you can be proud of. Purpose, balance, and flexibility. The power of purpose. A strong goal requires purpose. When you know why the goal matters, your effort becomes easier. Purpose gives energy to the difficult days and meaning to the uncomfortable changes. Goals that transform you come from your heart, not from external expectation. Once you connect with that deep reason, your goals become more than tasks. They become a commitment. Balanced growth is not one-dimensional. Personal growth includes emotional development, physical health, mindset, relationship strength, and self-awareness. When you set goals that touch these different areas, you grow in a balanced way. You stop focusing only on short-term achievements and begin valuing long-term holistic improvement. Adaptability over rigidity. Your goals should be specific enough to guide you, but flexible enough to adjust. Life changes. A rigid goal can become overwhelming when unexpected challenges appear. But a flexible goal adapts without losing its core direction. This adaptability reduces frustration and teaches you to persist even when the path is not perfect. Confronting weakness and clarifying action. Face your weakness. To define goals that push your growth, you must look at your weaknesses, not to judge yourself, but to guide your improvement. Everyone has patterns that hold them back: procrastination, fear, or inconsistency. When you define goals that require you to face these weaknesses, you begin to grow from the inside out. Growth comes from confronting the parts of yourself you have been avoiding. Leverage your strengths. Growth is also about developing what you are naturally good at. When you choose goals that use your strengths, you build confidence and move with enthusiasm. Strength-based goals keep you motivated and fuel your progress. Clarity demands specificity. The mind cannot work towards something vague. Saying you want to be better gives you no direction. Clarity gives your actions power. Instead of, I want to communicate better. Define, I will actively listen for 5 minutes without interruption in every conversation, and I will express my opinion clearly using I statements once per day. Accountability and long-term value own your direction. Growth-focused goals require accountability. You must hold yourself responsible for the direction you choose. This means checking in with yourself and asking whether your actions match your goals. Accountability creates maturity. It teaches you to take charge instead of waiting for someone else to push you. Creating a legacy of growth. Consider the long-term effect. A good goal does not just improve your present, it upgrades your future. It builds habits that last, teaches lessons you can use for years, and shapes a mindset that helps you face all challenges with strength. Breaking old stories. Your goals must inspire you. They should make you feel alive. They should also challenge your old stories. Many people limit themselves because they carry beliefs that no longer serve them. I'm not strong enough. I'm not ready. Growth requires rewriting those beliefs. When you define a goal that challenges your old identity, you break those inner limits and build a new belief system based on action and proof, not fear. When you define goals that push your growth, you give your life direction, structure, and meaning. You stop living by chance and start living by choice. Goals are the roadmap of personal evolution. Your life changes the moment you choose a goal that demands your best. Chapter 4. Start routines that support your emotional discipline. The unseen power. There is a crossroads in every life where a person finally recognizes the truth. Emotions govern almost everything. Your reactions, your words, your resilience against challenges. It all flows from emotional discipline. Without it, the strongest goals fracture, the clearest plans are abandoned, and the purest intentions dissolve like mist. Emotional discipline is not suppression. It is the sophisticated act of guiding your inner current to serve your life, not destroy it. And the most powerful tool for this is the daily routine, the anchor of structure. A routine gives your turbulent inner world a structure. When the day is mapped out, your feelings become manageable. You know the what, the why, and the when. This predictability eliminates unnecessary stress and prevents your emotions from scattering into chaos. The moment you start shaping your external schedule, you begin to mold your inner landscape. These repeated actions become signals, a silent command to your mind on how to respond, how to calm, how to remain centered. Emotional strength is forged when the mind feels anchored, and the ritual of routine provides that inescapable mooring. You don't need elaborate rituals. You need small, steady acts that deliver a sense of familiarity and control. A quiet minute before speaking to collect your thoughts. A brief morning walk to allow your emotions to settle into place. A moment to review your intentions, creating clarity before the world begins to rush. These actions may be whispers, but their emotional impact shouts consistency, intervening in the chaos. Emotional discipline thrives when you strip away sudden chaos. When life feels unpredictable, your emotions fire quickly and violently. Routine creates a rhythm the mind can trust, lowering the internal alert level. Your mind stops jumping from worry to worry. It ceases reacting to every small disturbance. This rhythm provides the inner order necessary to respond to life with strength, not reflexive panic. The structure of routine also acts like a thermal scan, helping you discern emotional patterns. When your day is consistent, you can clearly see the arrival of certain feelings, tension in the morning, restlessness in the afternoon. When you identify these patterns, you gain the ability to intervene before emotion graduates into reaction. You can pause, adjust your breath, or step back. This capacity to intervene early is the hallmark of emotional maturity. You are no longer swept away, but aware. Discipline is also rooted in routines that fiercely protect your well-being. When you allocate time for rest, nourishment, movement, and reflection, you declare that your emotional health is paramount. A tired mind is reactive. A neglected body is a heavy burden. But routines that care for you ensure your emotions remain balanced. Self-care is not indulgence. It is preventative maintenance. Will versus impulse. Routines are the training ground for separating impulse from intention. When you commit to a daily action, even when the feeling is absent, you teach yourself to act based on choice, not mood. This discipline builds an inner voice that says, I can follow through. That voice is your bedrock when emotions surge, pushing you towards impulsive decisions. Even the small act of completing a minor task at the same time each day reinforces your ability to choose intentional action. Reflection is another essential routine. It is not rumination, it is understanding. Taking time to review your actions, recognize your triggers, and consider alternative responses builds emotional wisdom. It helps you distinguish between temporary feelings and long-term values. Routines also cultivate emotional patience. Life will not always comply with your pace. Without discipline, this friction breeds frustration that can ruin the day. But when you are grounded by routine, you learn to pause instead of react. You learn to breathe before speaking, to think before responding. This patience is not a talent. It is the inevitable result of repeated practice. The shield of closure. A routine that many find invaluable is the moment of closure at day's end. Finishing your day intentionally prevents unnecessary emotional weight from carrying over into the next morning. You acknowledge what succeeded, you accept what did not, you release any tension. This closing ritual allows you to approach the new day with a clear mind, free from the inertia of yesterday's frustration. Furthermore, emotional discipline is strengthened by routines that limit exposure to things that drain your stability. Setting strict boundaries around negative conversations, pointless arguments, or unhealthy distractions protects your emotional energy. You do not have to engage with every noise. You have the sovereign right to protect your peace. The ultimate trust routines help you build the ultimate form of self-trust. Emotional discipline flourishes when you believe you are capable of governing your inner world. Every day you follow your chosen path, you reinforce that belief. You prove that you can remain steady. You show yourself that you are responsible enough to handle your feelings. This self-trust creates an emotional strength that no external circumstance can steal. Starting these routines is not about achieving a perfect life. It is about constructing a stable life. A life where your emotions do not dictate your future. A life where you respond with clarity, feel grounded amid uncertainty, and guide your inner world with intention. When you build routines that strengthen your emotional discipline, you lay the foundation for everything else. Your goals become attainable, your focus sharpens, your confidence solidifies. Emotional discipline is not built in a single grand moment, but through the patient, repeated actions that teach your mind how to stay steady. And when your emotions work with you, your entire life begins to advance with unified purpose. Chapter 5. Choose habits that improve your internal clarity. The inner noise. There comes a point when the noise inside feels louder than the world outside. Thoughts overlap, worries build, and decisions become agonizingly difficult. This inner turmoil is a sign that clarity is missing. And clarity doesn't magically appear. It is a deliberate creation. It is built through habits that clean your mental space, teach your mind to slow down, and help you understand what you truly think and feel. Internal clarity is the foundation for a stable and meaningful life. The habits you choose each day determine how clear your inner world becomes. Habits for mental awareness. 1. Observe your thoughts. Clarity starts with the habit of paying attention to your thoughts instead of ignoring them. Many people push through their day without checking in, carrying stress, fear, and doubt without ever pausing to ask what those feelings are trying to communicate. When you make a habit of observing your thoughts, you begin to understand your emotional patterns. What triggers frustration, what fuels confidence, and what drains energy. This awareness is the first step toward clarity, helping you separate real concerns from imagined ones. 2. Simplify your mental load. The mind can only handle so many unfinished tasks before it becomes overwhelmed. When you reduce unnecessary commitments and remove distractions, your thoughts become easier to manage. A simple habit like writing down your tasks each morning clears space in your mind. You free your brain from the burden of memory, giving it room to think clearly. Simplicity does not weaken ambition. It strengthens efficiency and emotional balance. 3. Practice honest reflection. Clarity also grows from the habit of reflection. Reflection allows you to look at your choices, actions, and reactions with honesty. Taking a few minutes to think about your day helps you understand what moved you forward and what held you back. You gain insight into your behavior without judgment, which allows you to make wiser decisions in the future. 4. Create moments of quiet. Many people surround themselves with constant noise because silence feels unfamiliar. But silence is where clarity grows. A quiet moment in the morning, a slow breath before a conversation, or a short pause before reacting allows your mind to reset. These small breaks help your thoughts settle. When your mind is calm, your decisions become clearer. The habit of quiet time requires consistency, not long hours. 5. Be fully present. Clarity improves when you practice being fully present. When you give your full attention to the moment you are in, your mind stops drifting into worry. Presence sharpens your awareness and helps you notice details you would normally miss. This focus reduces confusion because it keeps you grounded and prevents your mind from jumping ahead. Habits for inner maintenance. 6. Clear emotional clutter. Emotional clutter comes from holding too many unresolved feelings. When you make time to acknowledge and express what you feel, your emotions stop piling up. You begin to understand what needs healing, what needs changing, and what needs letting go. This emotional openness shapes a clearer mind because you are no longer carrying hidden weight. Clearing emotional clutter is an ongoing habit, not a one-time action. 7. Organize your environment. Your physical environment directly affects your inner clarity. A consistent habit of keeping your space clean and organized helps your mind stay orderly. When you remove physical mess, you reduce mental stress. A tidy space supports a tidy mind. 8. Prioritize rest, sleep. A tired mind cannot think logically. It becomes reactive, distracted, and clouded. When you prioritize rest, you give your brain the recovery it needs. Good sleep improves memory, focus, and emotional strength. A well-rested mind sees things as they are instead of magnifying problems. 9. Establish healthy boundaries. Clarity develops through healthy boundaries. When you make it a habit to protect your time, energy, and emotional space, you stop allowing unnecessary stress into your life. Boundaries help you avoid situations that confuse your priorities or weaken your sense of self. Learning to say no to what drains you creates space for what strengthens you. 10. Focus on controllables. Many people lose clarity because they spend too much mental energy worrying about things outside their influence. When you train yourself to concentrate on actions you can take, your mind becomes sharper. You stop wasting energy on what cannot be changed. This shift brings immediate clarity, confidence, and emotional strength. The power of gratitude. Internal clarity also comes from the habit of grounding yourself in gratitude. Gratitude shifts your focus from what is missing to what is present. It calms unnecessary worry and reduces emotional pressure. When you make gratitude a daily habit, your mind becomes clearer because you stop viewing life through negativity. You see possibilities instead of problems, which supports better clarity in your decisions and actions. Developing internal clarity means choosing habits that help you understand yourself more deeply and support your mental balance. These habits take time to develop, but each one adds another layer of clarity to your life. Clarity is not something you find, it is something you build. And when you build it, your entire life becomes easier to navigate. The path becomes more visible. The decisions become more grounded. And the person you become moves through life with understanding and strength. Chapter 6. Take steps that build trust in yourself. The personal contract. Every person eventually confronts the fundamental truth. Self-trust is the bedrock of every meaningful transformation. You can possess the grandest goals, the sharpest routines, and the clearest plans. But without faith in your own capacity to execute, nothing moves. Trust is not a verbal affirmation you recite. It is a structure you build through small, consistent, undeniable steps that prove to your mind you are someone worth believing in. When you strengthen this trust, you secure your reliance on your own choices, discipline, and direction. This self-reliance is the ultimate form of personal power. The architecture of self-trust. 1. Honor the small commitments. Self-doubt is often born not from catastrophic failure, but from the cumulative weight of broken promises made to yourself. Every time you declare an intention and then ignore it, your mind registers a breach. Every delay chips away at your confidence. The antidote is immediate, small action. The moment you take even one step toward what you said you would do, your mind recognizes the alignment. Trust is built through the relentless act of follow-through, not fleeting intention. A powerful way to reinforce this is to consistently complete tasks that seem trivial. Finishing a morning ritual or completing a minor responsibility you usually avoid has a profound impact. When you prove you can master the small things, you gain the undeniable evidence required to tackle monumental challenges. 2. Embrace productive discomfort. Many people flee difficult tasks fearing failure. But avoiding difficulty sends a signal of weakness to your mind. Taking steps toward discomfort, even in measured doses, builds a deeper sense of capability. You show yourself that you do not require perfect conditions to act. You prove you can handle pressure without collapse. This quiet courage builds more authentic trust than any motivational slogan ever could. 3. Enforce your boundaries. Honoring your boundaries is an act of self-leadership. When you protect your time and energy, you affirm that your well-being is non-negotiable. When you constantly abandon yourself to please others or surrender to external demands, you weaken your inner trust. When you hold firm, when you honor what you need, your self-respect becomes unshakable. Self-respect fortifies trust because you learn you will never betray yourself for comfort or external approval. 4. The power of private victory. Trust is forged when you keep your word, even when no one is watching. Private victories shape personal power. When you complete a difficult task without seeking praise, maintain discipline without external monitoring, or keep a quiet promise to yourself, your character deepens. These silent wins form the robust foundation of self-belief. You become reliable to the only person who truly matters. 5. Build integrity through acknowledgement. People destroy self-trust by refusing to honestly face where they went wrong. When you evade responsibility for a mistake, your mind sees the avoidance. But when you acknowledge your error and correct your behavior, you build integrity. You show yourself that you are willing to learn, not deny. Mistakes do not destroy trust. Refusing to learn from them does. This shift creates emotional maturity, allowing you to move forward with clarity, shedding the weight of concealed shame. The consistent forge. 6. Consistency over intensity. Trust is not built in a day of frantic effort. It grows from consistency. When you show up day after day, even when progress is agonizingly slow and progress is quiet, you build a relationship with yourself based on persistence. You prove that you do not quit when the external excitement fades. This commitment teaches your mind that you can be counted on. 7. Align action with value. When your behavior aligns with your core values, you create inner harmony. When you act against your principles, your mind enters conflict and trust corrodes. Taking steps that reflect your principles gives you a sense of congruence. You feel grounded because your actions and beliefs walk in the same direction. 8. Celebrate the ascent. Too many people dismiss their own efforts as not enough. When you refuse to acknowledge your progress, you convince yourself that your effort has no value. You must take a moment to appreciate each improvement, no matter its scale. You reinforce your confidence, teaching your mind to associate effort with reward, not disappointment. 9. Embrace your unique timeline. Comparison is the thief of self-trust. When you measure your life against someone else's timeline, you generate self-doubt. Honor your own pace. Build confidence in your ability to grow steadily. You stop judging yourself unfairly, and you develop a patience that creates the emotional safety required for deeper trust. The final command. Take ownership of your direction. When you blame circumstances, people, or the past, you surrender your power. When you take ownership, you reclaim control. Ownership builds trust because you recognize that your choices are potent. You stop waiting for luck or rescue and begin relying on your own deliberate decisions. Every step you take to strengthen self-trust solidifies your identity. It transforms you into someone who believes in their own strength, who follows through, and who can depend on their own actions. Trust is built one decision at a time, and when you build it with intention, you create a version of yourself that stands firm, moves forward with unwavering confidence, and faces life with an inner certainty that nothing can easily shake. Chapter 7. Track progress that shows your real effort. The unseen evidence. There comes a critical stage in personal evolution where you realize effort alone is a ghost. You work hard, you commit fiercely, but if your mind cannot see the tangible evidence of its labor, motivation starves. Progress becomes invisible. Doubt, like a corrosive fog, begins to settle. That doubt does not stem from a lack of ability. It stems from a lack of clarity. When you track your progress in a simple, honest system, You give yourself the undeniable proof that you are moving forward. That proof becomes a fuel source. It builds confidence, ignites your desire to continue, and shows you that your struggle is real, meaningful, and alive. The grounded truth tracking begins by stripping away the illusion of memory. Memory is an emotional narrator. It highlights failures, magnifies struggles, and obsesses over what was missed. But when you commit your progress to paper, or to a clear, simple system, you exchange emotion for fact. You see the steps you actually took, not the distorted steps you think you took. This creates a balanced, grounded, and ultimately fair perspective on the magnitude of your personal journey. Mapping the ascent. Visible milestones. When your goals are trapped inside your head, they feel distant, a vague, unreachable horizon. When you record your actions daily or weekly, your progress transforms into visible, measurable milestones. Every mark, every note, every log becomes a flashpoint, reminding you that you are actively marching towards something meaningful. This structure maintains your direction, keeping your eyes fixed on the path, not lost in the fog of the future. 2. Revealing the patterns. Tracking acts as an internal spyglass, revealing habits you never knew you possessed. By reviewing your actions over time, you uncover patterns. Perhaps certain routines accelerate your improvement, or specific tasks are repeatedly avoided. These insights grant you knowledge of your natural operating system. Once you understand the engine, you can tune it. You become strategic with your effort, adjusting your approach without the blindness of guessing. 3. Accountability as discipline tracking solidifies discipline. When you record your actions, you create self-accountability. You can no longer hide behind flimsy excuses because the truth is written down. This transparency creates a gentle, inexorable pressure that pushes you toward consistency. Knowing you must log your effort encourages you to show up even when the feeling is absent. You learn to build discipline from the inside out. 4. The momentum of small victories. Many people rush from one task to the next, never pausing to acknowledge their achievements. This breeds a deep sense of emptiness. When you track your progress, you mandate that you receive credit for your effort. You force yourself to see the cumulative distance you have traveled, the small improvements in mindset, routine, and behavior. These small, stacked victories build momentum. They are the energy reserves that sustain you when life becomes a grinding fatigue. Clarity and correction. 5. Conquering overwhelm. When a goal appears too vast, the mind panics. But when you break it down into daily steps and track each completion, the goal feels manageable. Each completed action removes a chip of pressure. You cease worrying about the total size of the journey and focus entirely on the illuminated step directly in front of you. Overwhelm dissolves into clarity. 6. Honesty and adjustment. Tracking teaches radical honesty. When you write down what you did and didn't do, you face your own behavior without the shield of distraction. This honesty creates maturity. It teaches you to adjust your course instead of justifying a stall. This level of self-awareness leads to faster improvement. 7. Endurance through evidence. Many quit prematurely, convinced they are static, but true improvement is glacial. When you track your actions, you can access the proof of your progress even when the improvement feels agonizingly slow. You can look back and realize you are no longer the same person you were. This realization fortifies your endurance, providing the evidence needed to stay committed through the quiet seasons where progress is easy to overlook. The identity shift. 8. Emotional grounding. Tracking builds emotional stability. When your mind can see the undeniable steps you took, it feels grounded. It becomes less reactive and more patient. You cease demanding perfection and start appreciating the reality of progression. The more you track, the more secure you feel in your direction. 9. Fairness, not judgment. The purpose of tracking is not harsh judgment. It is understanding your journey. Some days will be a triumph, some days will be a crawl. But every day you remain aware of your actions is a day that contributes to growth. Fairness builds self-respect, and self-respect is the unbreakable bond of commitment. 10. Forging a new self-image. Tracking shapes a stronger identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries. You start seeing yourself as someone who grows and commits. Your self-image aligns with your actions. Every step you record becomes a visceral message to your future self. You stayed in the game. You chose to grow. You kept moving. Tracking your progress is not a small habit. It is a life-changing practice. It shines a relentless light on the truth, guides your choices, and validates your sacrifice. When you track progress that shows your real effort, you create a foundation for growth that is steady, honest, and profoundly empowering. Chapter 8. Correct behaviors that block your daily progress. The silent barriers. At some point, every serious individual realizes that progress is not solely built by adding new habits and goals. Progress equally depends on removing the behaviors that quietly hold you captive. These behaviors often look harmless. Some even feel comfortable because they are familiar. But familiar does not mean helpful. If a behavior weakens your direction, disrupts your focus, or drains your responsibility, it becomes a barrier to your growth. Until you correct these behaviors, your daily progress will remain slower than it needs to be. Real progress demands courage, and one of the most powerful acts of courage is the willingness to correct yourself. The first step, awareness. The process begins with awareness. Many people repeat destructive patterns because they are on autopilot. They move through the day repeating habits that feel normal, but ultimately create frustration. You must start paying attention to what you actually do, not what you intend or what you hope, but the action you execute. Awareness provides clarity, and clarity grants you the power to change. The most common blockers and their correction. 1. Avoidance. Avoidance shows up in small, comfortable betrayals. Delaying a necessary task, ignoring a difficult decision. Avoidance offers temporary relief but generates long-term stress. The uncompleted task drains your energy constantly as it returns to your thoughts. Correction. Face the task directly. Take one small step immediately. When you act instead of postpone, your mind becomes lighter and confidence grows. 2. Overthinking. Many people spend more time analyzing what they need to do than actually doing it. Overthinking exaggerates fear, creates doubt, and convinces you that you need more certainty before moving. But growth requires movement, not perfect answers. Correction. Set limits on how long you allow yourself to analyze a situation. Choose to move forward once you grasp the essentials. Action is the solvent for fear. 3. Self-criticism. People speak to themselves in ways they would never tolerate from others. Harsh self-judgment for small mistakes destroys motivation and weakens emotional stability. Progress is impossible when your inner voice is hostile. Correction. Practice fairness. You don't need false praise. You need balanced truth. Acknowledge mistakes without attacking your entire self-worth. When your inner voice is reasonable, progress becomes smoother. 4. Inconsistency. Starting strong and then fading confuses the mind, creating an identity of unpredictability. You begin to see yourself as unreliable. Correction. Reduce the size of your tasks and increase the regularity of your action. It is not about doing everything at once. It is about doing something every day. Consistency builds the stability that progress requires. 5. Saying yes to everything, lack of boundaries. When you accept every request and responsibility, you surrender control of your time. Your energy becomes scattered, and deep focus is impossible. Progress requires attention, and attention requires a barrier. Correction. Learn to say no with confidence. Protect your goals by intentionally choosing where your energy will be spent. Your time becomes purposeful instead of purely reactive. 6. Impatience. The desire for fast outcomes leads to quitting early and stops you from seeing the benefits of long-term effort. Correction. Remind yourself that progress is built quietly. You do not need dramatic change daily. You only need forward movement. Accept the nature of gradual improvement to stay committed long enough to reap the results. 7. Comparison. Comparison steals your focus, distracts you from your own path, and makes your real progress invisible because you are measuring it against someone else's timeline. Correction. Direct your attention inward. Your journey is unique and meaningful even if no one else sees it. Stop comparing to gain the freedom to grow at your natural pace. 8. Procrastination. Procrastination makes tasks feel heavier than they are. The more you delay, the more your mind resists. Correction. Break the task into small steps and begin immediately. Starting creates the momentum that relaxes your mind, removing the burden of the untouched task. 9. Ignoring emotional needs. If your mental and emotional state is neglected, your productivity declines and your discipline weakens. Correction. Treat your emotional health as essential maintenance. Acknowledge your feelings, give yourself rest when needed, and express thoughts instead of suppressing them. When your emotions are stable, progress becomes easier. 10. Failing to evaluate, lack of reflection. People repeat mistakes because they never take the time to review their day. They carry the same behavior into tomorrow. Correction. Take a moment to look at what worked and what did not. Reflection shapes better days because observation gives you the knowledge required for correction. The freedom of removal. Correcting behaviors that block progress is not about punishment. It is about liberation. It is about removing unnecessary weight so you can move faster, think clearer, and grow consistently. Once you identify and correct these daily behaviors, your progress becomes natural. Your days feel lighter, your confidence grows, and you move forward with purpose instead of frustration. Growth is not only defined by what you add to your life, it is powerfully defined by what you have the courage to remove. When you correct the behaviors that block your daily progress, you open the path for steady, strong, and completely controlled change. Chapter 9. Strengthen choices that align with your values. The foundation of integrity. Every individual eventually realizes that true progress is not born from random decisions or temporary spikes of motivation. It is forged by choices that resonate with who they truly are. Choices aligned with personal values create stability, direction, and unshakable confidence. When your decisions reflect your values, your life feels deeply meaningful. When they clash, you feel disconnected, adrift from yourself. Strengthening your choices means defining the principles you want to live by and committing to them, even when that commitment is inconvenient. Values are not decorations. They are guides that shape the path you walk each day. When you honor them, your choices become stronger, cleaner, and more powerful. Defining and mobilizing your principles. 1. Discover your core values. The first step is understanding your values. Many people drift through life, following inherited habits or societal patterns without ever asking if those patterns match their true self. Values are personal. They emerge from your beliefs, priorities, and sense of purpose. When you identify them honestly, your decisions begin to make profound sense. You stop living by accident and start living with awareness. 2. Values as daily standards. The next step is mobilizing them into daily decisions. Talking about values is easy. Acting on them requires discipline. If you value honesty, you choose it even when it is uncomfortable. If you value growth, you choose actions that demand effort. Strengthening choices means using your values as the standard, not your mood or temporary convenience. This consistency builds personal integrity. 3. Reducing inner conflict. One of the strongest benefits of making value-aligned choices is the immediate reduction of inner conflict. When decisions contradict your principles, your mind feels unsettled, creating a subtle, constant discomfort. But when your choices align, your mind feels clear. You stop arguing with yourself internally and move through your day with a sense of calm, knowing you acted according to your own principles, not external pressure or fleeting impulse. The discipline of choice. 4. The power of the pause. Strengthening choices requires learning to slow down before making decisions. Quick decisions are often emotional reactions. When you pause and ask yourself, does this choice support my core values? You create space for clarity. This pause allows your mind to evaluate instead of react. This simple habit transforms the quality of your decisions, ensuring they serve your future self, not your temporary feeling. 5. Separating internal from external. Recognize the difference between personal values and external expectations. When you act based on pressure from others, you sacrifice authenticity. When you act based on your values, you strengthen your sense of identity. Strengthening choices means having the courage to prioritize your principles even when others disagree, and staying true to your path without apology. 6. Firm boundaries. Based on principle, value-aligned choices help you set clearer boundaries. When you know what you stand for, you know precisely what you will not tolerate. Boundaries become easier to set because they are based on principles, not emotion. They become firm, fair, and necessary shields for your well-being. 7. The responsibility of alignment. You must let go of behaviors that contradict your values. If you value discipline but your actions reflect procrastination, you feel disconnected. This is not punishment, it is alignment, the process of actively becoming the person you want to be. When your decisions reflect your values, you stop blaming circumstances for your outcomes. You take ownership. This responsibility empowers you, giving you control over your direction. You rely on your principles to guide you. Long-term rewards. 8. Improved relationships. When you show up with consistency, honesty, and integrity, your relationships improve. People trust you more. They can rely on the person you are because your actions do not shift based on convenience. You become a steady, reliable presence whose character brings clarity instead of confusion. 9. Daily consistency. Strengthening choices is not only about big, pivotal decisions. It is about the small daily choices that build your habits, how you use your time, how you speak to others, how you handle responsibilities. Every small decision either strengthens or weakens your alignment. When you consistently choose actions that support your values, you build a life that reflects your true self, and this consistency creates profound emotional stability. 10. Deepening self-trust and clarity. When you repeatedly act according to your values, you prove to yourself that your decisions are reliable. You begin to trust your own judgment and rely on your own internal standards. This inner trust is a powerful shield against doubt, manipulation, and confusion. Furthermore, value-aligned choices create long-term clarity. Your goals become clearer. Decisions about work and relationships become easier. You stop wasting energy on things that contradict your principles and direct your focus toward what truly supports your future. Strengthening choices that align with your values transforms how you feel about your life. When your actions match your beliefs, you feel peaceful, confident, and proud of the person you are becoming. This is not ego, it is fulfillment, born from the knowledge that you are living in a way that honors your deepest identity. Living according to your values is not accidental. It happens through conscious decisions, repeated daily, through moments of honesty, courage, and self-respect. When you strengthen the choices that align with your values, you build a life that reflects the best in you, creating a foundation of character that guides you through every challenge with strength and clarity. Chapter 10. Protect habits that keep your growth consistent. The defense of growth. Every person who pursues meaningful improvement eventually realizes that progress is not forged in rare moments of explosive motivation, but in the steady habits they defend every single day. Growth is not an ecstatic burst. It is built in the quiet, mundane moments when no one is watching. It is sustained by the small, consistent behaviors that shape your direction, fortify your discipline, and solidify your identity. But these habits are fragile. They can be eroded by distraction, pressure, excuses, or emotional discomfort. Therefore, protecting the habits that support your growth is one of the most vital responsibilities you owe your own future. When you guard your habits, you protect the structural integrity of your stability. A habit is a signal to your mind. It declares who you are becoming, what matters to you, and how you will behave even when your emotions shift. When you neglect these habits, your foundation weakens, and you begin to slide back into old patterns. Protecting your habits means guarding your progress like a precious asset. It is the engine that keeps your growth perpetually moving forward. Fortifying the foundation. 1. Respect the small action. The first step in protecting your habits is recognizing their profound importance. Many people underestimate small habits because of their simplicity. A minute of reflection, organizing tasks, or a moment of self-care. But simplicity does not equate to weakness. When you realize how much these habits shape your clarity and consistency, you treat them with the respect they deserve. You cease skipping them casually. You recognize them as the engine of your progress. 2. Engineer your environment. Protecting habits requires creating an environment that actively supports them. Your surroundings possess more influence over your behavior than you imagine. A cluttered space disrupts ritual. A distracting environment shatters focus. Guard your habits by building surroundings that make follow-through easy. This may mean preparing your space the night before, organizing your tools, or limiting contact with people who drain your energy. When your environment is an accomplice to your habits, consistency becomes natural. 3. Lower the barrier to entry. You must remove the temptation to break your habits. In moments of fatigue or stress, the mind seeks the path of least resistance. Protecting your habits means strategically reducing the chances of abandonment. Lower the difficulty of starting. Prepare materials in advance. Keep the task simple. Reduce the friction between you and the habit. When the first step is effortless, the mind is far more willing to continue. 4. Refuse to negotiate with excuses. Excuses are seductive, offering momentary comfort. They whisper that skipping a habit just this once won't hurt. But once leads to twice, and twice establishes a pattern. When you protect your habits, you quickly identify and refuse these negotiations. You learn to distinguish genuine need for rest from unnecessary avoidance. This discipline strengthens your character and builds unshakable self-respect. 5. Prioritize resilience over perfection. Consistency does not demand perfection. Many abandon their habits because they expect flawless execution. They miss one day and surrender entirely. Growth is not destroyed by a missed moment. It is destroyed by quitting altogether. When you protect your habits, you grant yourself permission to err without giving up. You acknowledge the lapse and then return the next day with commitment. This resilience is the bedrock of sustainable growth. 6. Adapt, don't break. Protecting habits means adjusting them when the seasons of your life shift. Rigid habits break easily under pressure. A flexible habit adapts without losing its direction. When you adjust your routine to fit new circumstances, a change in schedule, a temporary spike in responsibility, you protect your progress from catastrophic disruption. You learn to move with life while honoring your core commitment to grow. The return on protection. 7. Build momentum and identity. Every time you follow through on a protected habit, you reinforce the belief that you are consistent, reliable, and committed. Identity shapes behavior. When you see yourself as someone who keeps their habits, you naturally continue them. You no longer view these actions as tasks. You see them as part of who you are. This identity shift makes decisions supporting your growth effortless. The daily repetition of even the smallest habit creates momentum. Movement becomes progress. Progress builds confidence. Confidence strengthens discipline, and discipline leads to deeper growth. This powerful chain reaction begins with the habits you successfully protect. 8. Claim responsibility and control. Protecting your habits teaches you responsibility. Growth is not accidental. It is the result of consistent effort. When you defend your habits, you accept responsibility for your future. You cease depending on fickle motivation or fleeting inspiration. You learn to rely on your own structure. This responsibility grants you direct control over your direction, building a life defined by intention instead of impulse. 9. Achieve inner peace. The greatest return on this defense is the peace it brings. When your habits are steady, your mind feels steady. You wake up knowing what is required. You end your day knowing you contributed to your growth. This stability reduces anxiety and stress. When your habits are stable, your emotions are calmer, your decisions are clearer, and your life feels centered. Protecting habits is not about achieving perfection. It is about fierce loyalty to your own growth. It is about making conscious choices that support the person you are striving to become. When you protect your habits, you protect your future, your strength, and your identity. You give yourself the chance to grow in a way that is steady, real, and long-lasting. Growth belongs to the person who is consistent, not the person who is occasionally motivated. Defend the habits that keep your growth alive, and you will become unstoppable in your journey forward.